Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. Today we'll be looking at the latest in the addition of crate cruisers. I'm going to classify them as this because while this is a premium ship and there's an event going on, I think the only way to get it is to gamble. We'll get into that a little bit later. First of all, let's take a look at the actual ship. This is the USS Anchorage, which never existed. But there was a plan for a ship of that sort. Funnily enough, we do have a second one with the Buffalo, which looks strikingly familiar. These two are looking almost identical. This is one of the designs to succeed the Baltimore class of heavy cruisers. This is the CA-B design with 4 turrets of the 8-inch 203mm main guns. And these ships never really existed because, well, they're still constructing the Baltimores and, in the 1960s, when they would have gotten around to doing this, missile cruisers were, missile ships were very rapidly replacing these sort of things. So these never came to pass, but they have been sort of resurrected here in game. Because obviously, the Baltimore being one of the most numerous cruiser classes ever constructed means we only get one of them, and everything else is some form of paper ship. So, what is this then? It's an American cruiser. It's a heavy cruiser, and it's got lots of guns, but that's not all it's got. Let's have a very quick look at how she compares, given that she's tier 9, to the actual Baltimore. So the very first thing that stands out is that the Baltimore gets the level 2 skills of rapid reload and defensive AA, whereas the Anchorage only gets the level 1 skills. That is mildly disappointing, and she gets 1 fewer defensive AA as well. Which means that instead of the 30% reload speed, which you really start to appreciate with these 203mm autoloaders, we only get a 15% reload speed, so that's not great. And instead of the 100% buff for the AA, we only get the 75% buff. Now, it's still not bad, but it's definitely noticeable. The Anchorage has slightly more hit points than the Baltimore, but like 1,000 hit points more. It's not a huge amount, but it's falling a little bit behind in terms of damage control for some reason. So we get the 20% instead of 25%, which is, again, strange, but okay, it is what it is. Other than that, it looks pretty much like a Baltimore hull, which is, once again, strange because the Anchorage was actually meant to be more heavily armored than the Baltimore class and larger. So, don't quite see that there. She is a tick faster, but other than that, she is noticeably less maneuverable than the Baltimore, which is also not great. Because, we'll talk about the meta for the heavy cruisers in a minute again. The guns, here's where it gets interesting. Now, these are technically completely the same guns that you would find on the Baltimore. Instead, that we get another turret, and somewhere along the lines, we've lost 2 seconds of reload. So she comes with a 10-second base reload. Which, okay, for something that's got 12 guns, I'll take it, I guess. The range is mildly better, but she also lost 1% of fire chance. Other than that, it's exactly the same values. So, okay. The secondaries are doing a little bit less damage and have a slightly different arrangement, I think, but all in all, it's rather similar. Now, here's one thing that's really unique, and the Anchorage actually gets torpedo tubes, 2 quad launchers with an 8.1 kilometer range. And this is not something you see on American cruisers very often. In fact, I think the last time we've seen that on an American cruiser was in Tier 5. So this is definitely something that's slightly different here. In return, the AA is noticeably worse than on the Baltimore, especially with the combination with the weaker defensive AA skill. And the concealment is slightly worse as well. So, on paper, it kind of looks like a Baltimore, sort of, with like, and she is a little bit better in some regards and a little bit worse in others. But I think all in all, she pays a very, very hefty price for having these torpedo tubes. because that's where I imagine all the slightly weaker points come in terms of compensation. Why is that, Terry? Because you play, if you've watched my video on American light and heavy cruisers, you play American heavy cruisers oftentimes as bow-in brawlers, sort of, in defensive position next to islands, things like that. The thing is, if you were in a Baltimore, let's actually bring the Baltimore in here as well. So if you're in a Baltimore and you're looking at a Baltimore like this, so this is effectively how you've been playing, you get 6 guns pointing forward. You get a relatively fast reload, you have the rapid reload skill that you can use, and you are having a very slim profile because, you're next to an island. If you're in an Anchorage and you're playing the ship in the same style, you're also pointing 6 guns forward. The thing is, you got a slower base reload and a worse rapid reload, and the other 2 turrets, so 50% of the firepower, sits in the rear. Which means that this ship is somewhat okay to just play bow in most of the battle, which is often how you play the American heavy cruisers, unless you get an opportunity to just kite or sail out. Whereas with the Anchorage, just the same problem as with the Buffalo, you sort of have to play it almost more like a light cruiser because of the layout. If you look at the Seattle has the same gun layout, the same number of guns, they're 150 millimeters, but the same gun layout. The Seattle, you wouldn't play bow in most of the time. You would play her as in a kiting position or behind an island, similar like that. So you kind of have to do the same thing with the Anchorage, because if you play her like a Baltimore, you really actually have a worse Baltimore because you're not making use of your extra turret in the rear. But let's actually compare her to the Buffalo, because the Buffalo is effectively the same ship but at tier 10 minus the torpedoes. As far as I remember, I don't think the Buffalo gets any torpedoes. So the Buffalo at tier gets the proper levels for the equipment, but also only gets 2 of the defensive AA skill. The Buffalo has the proper fire and flooding resistance, has a bit more hit points. The Buffalo is a tick more maneuverable, but not a huge amount, and she actually gets the 8% fire chance and an 8-second base reload. So I think what happened here is that somebody took a Buffalo, stuck some torpedoes onto it, and then said, okay, what can we nerf out of this ship in order to balance for the fact that she's got torpedo launches? Now, I would have much preferred not to have the torpedo launches and have a better gunboat, to be honest, because the Anchorage is not the most maneuverable out of ships. So let's have a look at the equipment. First slot, you might be tempted to use the main battery mod 2. The turrets are weak as is, so you do get them shot off relatively frequently. I cannot recommend doing this. I've tried it, and you're pretty much losing one of your turrets all the time. I am sailing with main battery mod 3 because the shells do take a bit to get on target, and she's not the most precise at long ranges. And I am actually sailing with double steering. Because once again, while the Baltimore is an extremely maneuverable ship and can dodge a lot of incoming fire, the Anchorage cannot. So with that, we get her down to just under 8 seconds turn time, which is acceptable but not great. Then what else have we done? In terms of elite bonus, you can get a better fire and flooding resistance. So if you would want to do a complete fire flooding build, you could do that, but I'm not 100% sure I see why you would want this. The bulkhead upgrade does sort of a little bit of all, so might as well go with that. It's not really like a great amount of things that you can get. And there are currently 2 camos. We'll look at the second one in a minute. The historical camo gives you range, torpedo range, traverse speed, and surface detection. I would have loved precision here, but it is what it is. Let's have a very quick look on the commander before we're moving on to the other camo. I have put underwater protection, and I actually using battlefield support here because just to get a second defensive AA on this ship. And I have the artillery maintenance and the air defense expert. But with the weaker skill and with the lower base values on the AA, she's really just not able to stand up to carriers as she is. A Baltimore is a reasonably effective counter to a carrier strike. The Anchorage will, if she's getting isolated, be hammered quite badly by a carrier. Also, again, due to the poorer maneuverability. I am also using the Fire Supremacy for an extra rapid reload. You can play with 3. It's perfectly acceptable if you want to go for something like Survivalist. That works as well. And I actually have put it up to tier level 10 captain to get the Master Reloader skill, which is obviously what you want. So in terms of skills and captain trainers and everything, it's sort of not a bad choice. Now, I was talking about a second camo, and that other camo is in the crate. It's the Anchorage Ultimate Crate. Now, they've hidden the chances a little bit, because you used to see them up top here. You now actually have to tip on the eye icon, and then you get the drop rates here. So there's a 2.6% chance to get the native camo. And the native camo actually gives hit points, range, dispersion, and torpedo damage reduction. I could have done without the torpedo damage reduction, but the dispersion would definitely have been appreciated. Unfortunately, you don't seem to be able to buy this outright, but it's only in the crate. Which gets us to, let's do a very short tangent on how you can actually get yourself an Anchorage. Well, there's an event. There's a token event. And in the event shop, for 25 event tokens, you can purchase the Anchorage. Where do you get event tokens from? Well, you get event tokens out of, as far as I know, a Victory Blitz. Where is it? It's going to be somewhere here. Yeah, there's the Anchorage Victory Blitz. So if you play any tier 4 to tier 10 ship, for 1 victory you get a token, for 10 you get a token, for 20 you get a key, and for 50 you get a token. For a grand total of 3 tokens and a key. That's as much as you can get for free. Which means that the token event, requiring 25 tokens, means that provided that you do get the 50 victories within time, which is not super difficult to achieve, then you're going to have to spend 1,500 gold per crate to get more tokens. Now, the chance for the tokens is relatively high. It's a 33% chance. And there is an actual 2% chance to get the Anchorage herself out of this thing. But, well, you're going to have to spend, what do we say, 22 more tokens. You're going to have to spend like 40, you have to open like 40, 50 crates or something to get that, just in terms of tokens. With 1,500 gold per crate. Yeah, nah, thank you. So that's why I'm calling these crate cruisers, because that's literally what they are. So I'm fully assuming that a lot of you are not going to have the Anchorage, but you might as well know what the thing is capable of if you ever play against one, because there are certainly people out there, and I'm not telling you not to do it, like as usual. No, I'm not telling you not to do it. If you want to do this, if you like to gamble, if you think you want to have the prize and you have the money to spare, and it's not gonna get you into trouble or hurt you, be my guest. I mean, who am I to tell you how to spend your money? But so there will be Anchorages out there. But so if you're not into the whole gambling thing and you're facing one in battle, this is what it can do. Right. I think we've covered most of the things. The battle honors on premium ships are not really that interesting because they're just giving stuff, right? It's just extra things. Like you get, effectively, if you get a premium ship, a tier 9 premium, you're going to get some, what is this, titanium for free in return, because these are completely trivial. So that's not a thing. We're going to throw the Seaborne Assault camo onto this, and then we're going to get ourselves into a battle or two. Now, I am going to be in 2 tier 8 battles, or well, tier 9 battles really, because I think in all the battles I've played in this ship, I had 1 tier 10 battle that wasn't chock full of bots, and that was one of the very first when I was still practicing. Matchmaking recently has been throwing an enormous amount of bots on me. In fact, actually, we do have 1 bot in this battle, and I am playing at prime time on a weekend on the Asian server, so yeah. But we are up against Indomitable, Iowa, Double Iowa, Roma, Edinburgh, Chungmu, and Xianyang. And we're playing Epicentre in Cage. Oh dear. It'll come down to who likes to capture circles, isn't it? Well, let's see which team we're on at this time around. But yeah, in a Baltimore, my decision would be very easy. I'll park myself in the middle ring next to that handy little island over there, that island there, and then you know, go bow in and shoot stuff. In this thing, not so much because of the meta. So I am going to stick with the Benson and give whatever AA support I can give. I do have the torpedoes on this ship. And the angles are pretty good, actually, aggressively. But she does kind of lack the maneuverability a bit to be an effective brawler. And she's a bit too big for that as well. So we are going to do sort of the Baltimore style and park ourselves there, kind of between the islands. But let's see what we can see. There's one of the enemy destroyers, I think, spotted. Can I get shots at it? Not quite. As usual, the range isn't the greatest with these ships. So I am actually turning in a little bit just to get my rear guns on point and get some shots out at the Xianyang. Oh, okay, Xianyang's turning, so let's use the first rapid reload. And he's gone unspotted, unfortunately. So I can get a blind shot out on him, but I'm probably not going to be hitting anything. And I am already taking return fire from someone. That Chungmu looks awfully brave. Let's see if we can do something about him. As usual with the American, or just general 200mm guns, you want to use the armor piercing at long ranges, like 6 kilometer plus, let me say. Because other than that, they're going to start over penetrating and you're not going to be doing an awful lot of damage with them. So right now we're coming under carrier attack, and we might be taking a plane or two with us, but there's not an awful lot that we can do about airplanes because she's not that good in AA. Now there are going to be torpedoes in the water probably, so and the destroyer has gone unspotted, and I have no utility. Well, then to be fair, you don't have that in a Baltimore either. So we're just going to use the island just in case there are any torpedoes coming. And the enemy Xianyang has just run into a whole bunch of Venom torps, or should I say sea mines, which means that we're probably, given that the Chungmu probably has buggered off, seeing what's going on here, we're probably going to be in control of the center. So I'm now, there's the Chungmu over there. So I'm now going to lend support in AA and against that, try to chase that Edinburgh over there away. The guns are okay, but not overwhelmingly good. They do a decent amount of damage, but against things like battleships, you will, especially at range, probably be better off shooting the high explosive. And I think the Roma was actually going forward. It looked like he wasn't. You can quite tell where he was going. So we're sort of angling, but also sort of aren't. So if the Roma is starting to shoot at us, that's going to hurt a lot more than if we were in a Baltimore. So I'm going to turn the ship, because he kind of seems to be looking my way. I just want to get all those 12 guns on target and see if I can accelerate. Yeah, at this range we're just not doing any damage with the armor piercing, so we're going to have to switch over to the HE. We're still coming under carrier attack, and there come the Roma shots, but I've already started going forward, so at this point his shots fell wide. And yeah, I am once again just angled, not bow in. Oh, that was disappointing, because I want to get my rear guns on target because they are taking a while to reload. So that shot, let's see if we can duke this again. That was some decent shots there. So that hurt. But we are holding the center cup. The carrier has now joined us in the center cup, and there comes the Chungmu. So at this range, the HE is probably the right choice. He is not yet in secondary battery range, and these have completely missed once again. And let's get some torpedoes out against the Chungmu, just in case he's not aware that I have torpedoes, because this is a very new ship at this point. That was one spread from the Chungmu, so either he has kept one in reserve, but he seems to be wanting to come out, which is a very unwise decision. So yeah, rapid reload up, and that's gonna hurt. But the high explosive isn't doing a great deal either. I am getting a fair amount of semi-pens with the HE. There comes the second spread from the Chungmu. That should miss me. So, or maybe I'll take one here. Yeah, I took one torp. So now it's just the Roma out there. And there's still another battleship and a cruiser. Let's dive under the Roma shots. Yeah, with the double steering, we can pull this kind of maneuver. Roma is on double fire, Damakons, and we are hammering him with the HE. which by itself isn't going to do an awful lot of damage, but the Roma is almost dead. I should be able to get another shot off before he can kill me. And there's the Edinburgh, so back to the armor piercing, and let's swing the guns around. He does shoot my rudder off. I can damage counter with that because the Edinburgh has no way of actually setting me on fire, as long as I don't run into his torpedoes. So torpedoes are, of course, also a little bit of a bane because you tend to be more sideways than in a Baltimore, where most of the time you bow in towards the threat anyway. So shots out at the Edinburgh at 8 kilometer range. I would have once again expected a little bit more of these guns, but I do have a battleship over there. No citadels, lots of semi-pens at 9 kilometers, not against a bottom tier British light cruiser. Not really super excited about it. And before I can do anything else, I was going to rush that battleship with torpedoes. We are actually winning on points. So, yeah, this is kind of how you play it. You play a bit more risky than you would in a tech tree heavy cruiser because you're always tempted to get the rear guns on target because, you know, they exist, so they should be used. Now let's do another one. And once again, it's a tier 9 battle. Like I said, haven't just really been able to get into tier 10 battles that weren't just full of bots. We're up against Shokaku, Musashi, Cleveland, a Tone, a Loyang, Kagero, and a Xianyang. And we're playing center control and cage. So same map, but different mode. Once again, it's about who can, you know, keep the hands down onto the capture circle. You are a bit of a threat to other cruisers, even with a relatively slow reload. But I feel not as dangerous as the other ships because once again, you don't get the fast autoloaders that you can use just being bow in, dodge most of the incoming fire, and then just dish out the damage. Right, so once again it's a carrier game, so we are going to try and escort that Tashkent if he wants to be escorted, but I am going to park myself next to that island such that I can help control the capture circle and get fire out at things. I do need to, you know, push out a little bit, and I need to be very, very careful with torpedoes in this scenario because there's 3 destroyers on the enemy team, so there is potentially a lot of fish in the water. And I don't have a sonar or a radar, but then to be fair, you don't have that on the Baltimore either. I think you get 1 radar on the Des Moines, but that's it. Okay, Xianyang spotted, so let's get some shots out at him. And there's also the Loyang. I think my rear turret have hit the island. Yeah, we are doing what we want to do. We seem to be doing some AA support for the Tashkent, who has joined me over here. But there will be torpedoes in the water. The Loyang is very accommodating, sailing in a straight line, but I think now he's too far behind the island. So I am going to back off. Not because I don't want to be in a capture circle, but because there are going to be deep water torpedoes of some description in the water. Okay, there comes some, but they're not actually aimed at me. So I seem to be fine here. Let's inch forward again and just make sure we're sitting inside the capture circle. Now I am going to drop some torpedoes here just in case the destroyer behind that central island is going to move in, and then I'm going to start taking the Cleveland under fire, who seems to be returning the favor, and that's a nice citadel on the Cleveland. Yep, there is one of the destroyers in the smoke. I'll just blind fire him, but I think he stopped there. Does he see? Yeah, he saw the torpedoes coming, unfortunately. So, destroyer in the smoke. Comes out from the island, gets a couple shots off, goes back behind the island. That's where I found you. Yeah, there are his torpedoes. And that's why I'm already reversing, because I knew these were coming. Let's see if he's still sitting there. But no, he's no longer sitting there. So he realized that once I have a decent idea where he is, and you can see the tracers from his AA guns when they're opening up, then he is not going to be in a good shape. But we are holding the capture circle, and the enemy team does not, because the enemy heavies are not making any mention of getting in there. And I'm back in my capture circle, so if that Loyang did help, no, hold that. Xianyang spotted, shots out, and put her back in reverse, because we are going to meet some Xianyang torps in a second here. So full on reverse, and we're just dropping some more torpedoes just in case the Loyang decides to come out. There comes the carrier. If I can get the carrier, yeah, there comes a spread. That should be the Xianyang spread. There's double Xianyang spread plus the airdrop torpedoes. There's a fair amount of soup here. We are taking a little bit of damage, but that was mostly just the airdrop torpedoes, so it's not a huge deal. You can see what I mean with. Here comes the Cleveland. You can see what I mean with not the best AA for an American heavy cruiser, especially at tier 9. I mean, this is just a tier 8 carrier. It is an Indomitable, but still. Was it? No, I can't remember what it was. But anyway, it's a carrier. It's a tier 8. So Cleveland goes undetected because he has having to have higher firing arcs, but I can see where he is, so I can hammer him from here. But he's moving backwards, so some parting shots. And there's the Xianyang out there again, so once again I have to back off, which has the nice side effect that I'm probably somewhat shielded from the Cleveland's fire. And where are the Xianyang torps? I've seen the Xianyang, the torps should be there. Okay, there's the Tournay. And no torps. Okay. Sorry, Takao. I get in your way there. Yeah, there's the Loyang. There have to be torps in the water, right? And that missed completely. Where is he going? Is he doing a full turn? Are you doing a full turn? Let's see if we can catch him. And just a little bit too short. These shells are not quite as quick as I thought they were going to be. And yeah, there are definitely torps in the water. But I think these might have been airdrop torps. So once again, we are doing... nobody's been killed yet, but we're leading by 250 points because they just haven't managed to grab the capture circle because we are defending it to the teeth. Tooth and nail. Alright, heal up a little bit more. Who's left? There's the Tournay. It's giving me a nice broadside and he seems to be sitting still. So let's see if we can punish that a little bit. The Cleveland is once again... Okay, these might be Tournay torps, so back off again. See that we can dodge those. Tournay is reversing. This was a widespread, I think, so it's not a huge danger here. I am still taking fire from something and shooting down the occasional airplane. There is something with smoke on my left. There's the extremely low... They're all very low at this point. There's the extremely low Yang over there, and I just can't get him behind the island. Oh, bugger. I really want to get somebody killed here. Oh, Xianyang volunteers. Hello. Alright then, be my guest. Some torpedoes in case he's trying to turn. And then I do have to go behind the island once again because there are torpedoes in the water, most likely. And the Xianyang is buggering off. And I do have to be careful. I can't be on fire right now. The carrier is helping as well. It's still being shot at by the Cleveland. So if somebody can kill the Xianyang... I've got the Cleveland right here, who's peppering me, and I just used my Damacon. And, where is he? Can I get him? Can I get this pesky? I really don't want to be on permafire right now, because I'd only have 6,000 hit points left. Can I get the Cleveland? And honestly, killing the Cleveland would help as well. I mean, we're still holding the capture circle, and we're going to win this on points. There's no way we're not. I just want to see if we can get the Roffelstomp medal. Okay, there's Kagero. Shots out at the Kagero. Nobody is on any hit points here. Everyone is super low. Oh, come on. One more salvo might do it. Alright. 12 shells out. Something's got to hit that thing. Kagero dead. Finally. 30 seconds before the end. Can we still get the Cleveland? That little pesky bugger. 12 shells out. Blind fire. There comes the Musashi finally. Of course, he immediately shoots my turret off. Missed the Cleveland, but I've got a second salvo. So shots out at the Cleveland. 16 seconds. Can I still get him? Oh, just one hit. Rear turrets out. Maybe the rear turrets. Now I have to dodge the enemy fighters here. The enemy torpedo planes. And we get the Cleveland. So, we've still managed to kill some stuff. And we managed to survive. Yes, because the carrier fluffed it up. So, we're not dying to that drop quite yet. Right then. Yeah. So, is it a good ship? Not really. I think she's tier 8 in PC and I think has a sonar and a smoke. And that's a setup I would have probably preferred. I can see how they got there, like just taking the Buffalo and down-tiering her a little bit. But she doesn't quite play like a heavy cruiser and she doesn't quite play like a light cruiser. She doesn't have the rate of fire or the setting fire capability that she would have as a light cruiser. The balanced gun layout leads to you playing a little bit more broadly. She's lacking the maneuverability. She's not a bad ship. She's a pretty good ship that can do some support. But as you've seen, even against the bottom tier carrier, the AA is kind of on the meh side. You can shoot like 10-15 planes down, but you're not as dangerous as you are in the real deal by a fair margin. So I would say it's an average cruiser. It's nothing I would be particularly keen on. And given the meta for heavy cruisers, I think she doesn't quite fit in there. The torpedoes are a gimmick that you can kind of use if you want to brawl something. And you want to play like a German cruiser, but most of the time, as a tier 9 ship, most of the time you're going to be playing at range, and that's kind of with a relatively short range where she will struggle, also with the dispersion, and the AP penetration isn't grand at range, so even against other cruisers. So it's an average ship, I'd say. You can do, it's easy to do 50,000 points of damage, but it's hard to do a lot more. And for a tier 9 ship, for me, that's just really kind of average. So there you go. That's what that is. So probably the most important thing for you to keep in mind if you say, no, I'm not interested in crates and I have no interest in having this ship. If you run into one, just be aware that these things have torpedoes, which is not something you normally expect on an American cruiser at this tier. So that's the only thing to keep in mind. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.